Pittsburgh Trivia is a production of Warrior House Media.
Welcome to Pittsburgh Trivia with your host, Jim Cannon, where uncovering the crazy truth and trivia about Pittsburgh is just the beginning. And who knows, you may even learn a few things in the process. We know life can get pretty interesting around Pittsburgh. Speaking of interesting, did you know that?
Hi, and welcome to Pittsburgh Trivia, an interactive trivia show where we test your knowledge of all things Pittsburgh and the surrounding region. I'm your host, Jim Cannon. Thank you for joining me. We have some great questions lined up this episode, and we'll get to them in just a minute. But before we jump in to see how well you know Pittsburgh, just a shameless plug here for our website, pittsburghtriviapodcast.com. It's where you can go to find the latest episode, along with previous episodes. And if you just do a quick internet search using the same words, Pittsburgh Trivia Podcast, you'll find us on a number of different listening platforms, because I know some people have their preferred site to use. And the great thing about our show is you don't have to play sequentially. So check out this episode and then maybe dive into episode 3 or episode 11, whatever you want to do. And while you're on the website, you can subscribe to be notified when a new episode is posted. So here's how Pittsburgh Trivia works. We serve up 2 rounds of 5 questions each, and then one final slightly tougher question at the end. It's a grand total of 11 questions about Pittsburgh, arguably still one of the coolest cities in the land. For each round, I'll read the question and give about a 5-second pause before going on to the next one. At the end of each round, I'll repeat each question before revealing the answer, along with some additional information, so you can have fun, test yourself, and learn some things along the way. Those are the rules, so if you're ready, let's get started. Round 1, question 1. We haven't had a Steelers question for a while, so I'm going to throw this one at you. Who is the Steelers' all-time leading rusher with 11,590 yards? Here's a hint. Anyone flying into Pittsburgh International Airport since 2005 probably ran into him. And question 2. This now closed restaurant that was located in Market Square served New Orleans-style dishes and used that city's abbreviation as the name of the restaurant. What was it? Question 3. Beaver Valley Power Station, located on the banks of the Ohio River in Shippingport in Beaver County, about 25 miles northwest of Pittsburgh, was built in 1957 and covers almost 1,000 acres. The power station was the first what in the United States? Question 4. This comedian, known for his sardonic wit and dry delivery, grew up in Castle Shannon and graduated from Point Park University with a journalism degree. He spent time as a cast member of Saturday Night Live from 1985 to 1991, delivering the Weekend Update. He later had his own show on HBO. Who is he? And question 5. Collier Township native William Kerr spent almost his whole life advocating to make this patriotic-themed day a national holiday. He started the effort in 1882, and finally in 1949 he stood next to President Harry Truman as it was signed into law. What is the national day observed on June 14th? All right, that does it for round 1. Hope your brain is firing on all cylinders now, so we're going to go back and we're going to check the answers. Question 1. Who is the Steelers' all-time leading rusher with 11,590 yards? And I gave you a hint. Anyone flying into Pittsburgh International Airport since 2005 probably ran into him. And the answer, Franco Harris. The lifelike statue depicting Harris's historic catch, the Immaculate Reception, was set up in the airport near the escalators in 2005. It was moved in 2023 to stand near the information desk on the landside area, so even people who weren't flying could see it. And once the new airport opens in 2025, plans are to have the statue placed in the new terminal. I almost forgot, Harris was the leading rusher, while number 2 is, anyone? Jerome Bettis. And number 3, Willie Parker. And question 2. This now closed restaurant that was located in Market Square served New Orleans-style dishes and used that city's abbreviation as the name of the restaurant. What was it? NOLA on the Square. N-O-L-A on the Square. Unfortunately, it closed in 2020, citing the pandemic as the culprit. Now, I ate there a few times, and it was okay. Not quite the same as eating in New Orleans, but yeah, it was a good change of pace and something different for the burg. Question 3. Beaver Valley Power Station, located on the banks of the Ohio River in Shippingport in Beaver County, about 25 miles northwest of Pittsburgh, was built in 1957 and covers almost 1,000 acres. The power station was the first what in the United States? It was the first commercial nuclear power station. And when it opened, it was originally known as the Shippingport Atomic Power Station, and it was opened as part of President Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace program. There are currently 2 operating reactors at the site. And question 4. This comedian, known for his sardonic wit and dry delivery, grew up in Castle Shannon and graduated from Point Park University with a journalism degree. He spent some time as a cast member of Saturday Night Live from 1985 to 1991, delivering the Weekend Update. He later had his own show on HBO. Who is he? Dennis Miller. After he graduated from school, he worked a number of odd jobs, including as a deli clerk at Giant Eagle, while working on perfecting his stand-up abilities. And I'm sure he picked up plenty of material there. In 1985, while performing at the Comedy Store, he caught the attention of Saturday Night Live producer Lorne Michaels, who then tapped him to be a cast member of the show. Now, as for the Weekend Update portion of the show, Miller had the longest run of anyone hosting the update, a record broken by Seth Meyers in the mid-2000s. And the final question, question 5. Collier Township native William Kerr spent almost his whole life advocating to make this patriotic-themed day a national holiday. He started the effort in 1882, and finally, in 1949, he stood next to President Harry Truman as it was signed into law. What is the national day observed on June 14th? The answer, Flag Day. It commemorates the adoption of the flag of the United States on June 14th, 1777, by resolution of the Second Continental Congress. The impetus for the holiday, the first time it was actually considered, was in 1861 following the attack on Fort Sumter. Now, Mr. Kerr is referred to as the father of Flag Day. He founded the American Flag Day Association of Western Pennsylvania in 1888, became the chairman of the National Association, and served as its president for 50 years. And side note, Pennsylvania was the first state to celebrate Flag Day, and the first observance, before it was signed into law, took place on June 14th, 1937, in the town of Rennerdale. All right, that was a pretty full round of questions and answers and information. I hope you're in the zone because we have 5 more questions waiting. Quick note, if you enjoy the show, please let us know. And the best way is to hit the like button on whatever platform you use to listen and play along. If you use Spotify or Amazon or one of the other platforms, the little thumbs up or the heart icon is a great way for us to get some direct feedback from you. All right, get ready for another bunch of Pittsburgh trivia, because here we go. Round 2. Question 1. St. Anthony's Chapel, a Catholic church on Harpster Street in Troy Hill, features the largest collection of these items in the world outside the Vatican. What are they? And question 2. This is a multiple choice question. English is spoken by most people in Pittsburgh. What is the second most popular language? Is it Chinese, Spanish, or Arabic? Question 3. Let's see how well you know your downtown buildings. Built in 1871 on 4th Avenue, close to Smithfield Street, the Dollar Bank Building is the oldest surviving bank building from Pittsburgh's original financial district. A marvel of construction, the building is best known for 2 imposing figures of these royal animals who guard the entrance. What are the animals? And question 4, it's a music question. Born in 1943 and raised in the Hill District, he was playing guitar by 8 years old and recorded his first album at 21. In 1969, he released his own version of the Beatles' album Abbey Road, called The Other Side of Abbey Road. His 1976 album Breezin' hit number 1 on the charts and was certified as platinum. One of his biggest hits was 1982's Turn Your Love Around. Who is he? And the final question of the round, question 5. Born Sarah Breedlove, Madam C.J. Walker, born to freed slaves in Louisiana, arrived in Pittsburgh in 1907. She was in the cosmetics and hair treatment business, and Pittsburgh, with its busy and intersecting rail lines, provided a great hub from which Walker could ship her goods. She had a shop in the Hill District, and she later ended up living in New York City. But Madam C.J. Walker had the distinction of being the first what in the country? All right, that does it for the questions for round 2. I know some of those were pretty tough, so let's go back, we'll check the answers and see how you did. Question 1. St. Anthony's Chapel, a Catholic church on Harpster Street in Troy Hill, features the largest collection of these items in the world outside the Vatican. What are they? Religious relics. Now, it's not a very big place, and a lot of the items are kind of small, like tiny. But if you're into offbeat history, it's a really cool place to go visit. Some of the items they have include a tooth from patron Saint Anthony Padua, for whom the chapel is named, and a thorn, supposedly, from the crown of thorns woven for Jesus by Roman soldiers. All right, question 2. This is a multiple choice question. English is spoken by most people in Pittsburgh. What is the second most popular language? Is it Chinese, Spanish, or Arabic? I know some of you want to say, hey, it's Pittsburghese, but the formal answer is Spanish. English dominates at somewhere around 85 or 86%. Spanish comes in at second at just under 4%. And then there's a smattering of European and Middle Eastern languages. And question 3, this was to see how well you knew your downtown buildings, if you've spent a lot of time walking around down there. Built in 1871 on 4th Avenue, close to Smithfield Street, the Dollar Bank Building is the oldest surviving bank building from Pittsburgh's original financial district. A marvel of construction, the building is best known for 2 imposing figures of these royal animals who guard the entrance. What are the animals? The answer is, they are lions. Well, surely many of you have passed by the building and seen the lions. They're such cool sculptures just sitting there. They look all relaxed, but they had that sort of look like if they magically came to life, you'd be in deep, deep trouble. Now, following the Civil War, business in Pittsburgh was booming, and so a bunch of really amazing banks were built. And with this one in particular, after initially acquiring the land to erect the building, they had plans ready, but they had to wait 4 more years until 1869 to start construction due to a shortage of materials because of the war. You know, supply chain issues. The building took 14,000 tons of brownstone from Connecticut and also used pink granite from Massachusetts. And each lion, this is such a cool fact, each lion was sculpted from a single block of brownstone. Now, this is a building that, when the zombie apocalypse finally hits, you're going to want to scope this place out as kind of a possible stronghold, because nothing is going to bring that building down. Question 4. It's a music question. Born in 1943 and raised in the Hill District, he was playing guitar by 8 years old and recorded his first album at 21. In 1969, he released his own version of the Beatles' album Abbey Road, called The Other Side of Abbey Road. His 1976 album Breezin' hit number 1 on the charts and was certified as platinum. And one of his biggest hits was 1982's Turn Your Love Around. Who is he? Come on, music geeks. It's George Benson. He was considered a musical child prodigy. In fact, when he was 9, Benson started playing in a speakeasy club until the police finally shut it down. He's had a lengthy and really kind of interesting, but I think understated career, and he's played with some legendary musicians. Now, here's something interesting, and it's one of the reasons this podcast exists. For years, it was accepted as fact that Benson had graduated from Shenley High School. But in a 2024 interview, Benson himself cleared it up and said he actually attended Connolly Vocational High School on Bedford Avenue, which was across the street from his house. The school closed in 2013 and is now the Energy Innovation Center. And question 5, born Sarah Breedlove, Madam C.J. Walker, born to freed slaves in Louisiana, arrived in Pittsburgh in 1907. And she was in the cosmetics and hair treatment business, and Pittsburgh provided a great hub from which she could ship her goods. Walker had a shop in the Hill District and later ended up living in New York City. But she had the distinction of being the first what in the country? And the answer is, Walker was America's first female self-made millionaire. Now, when she was in Pittsburgh, she lived in Shadyside. In 1908, she opened a factory and a hair school called Lalia College, where she taught women to become what she called hair culturists. And she moved around the country quite a bit over the years. Ultimately, she ended up building enough of a fortune that she had several homes, including an estate in Westchester County, New York, very close to the Rockefeller estate. But yeah, she became America's first recognized self-made female millionaire. All right, that does it for round 2. How you feeling? I hope you have enough brain power left for at least one more question. It's going to be a rough one, so I hope you're feeling up to par. And before I tee off on the final question, I want to let you know this. If you have any fun, unique, and verifiable, that's the key word, verifiable Pittsburgh trivia you'd like to share with us, send it on over and it might end up on the show. You want proof? Well, the bonus question you're about to hear was submitted by our good friend Rex. So Rex, if you're listening, thank you, man. And for the rest of you, here we go. The bonus question. Okay, I hope you picked up on the hints that this is a golf question, and it is a par 1. No bogeys here. The golf course at the Pittsburgh Field Club in Fox Chapel has a rather unique feature, something most people would never consider when playing golf. It takes players from the 17th hole green to the par 3 18th hole tee box at the top of a pretty daunting hill. Utilizing this feature, it takes 39 seconds to get from hole 17 to 18. What is the feature? All right, I'm going to bet that the first guess by most of you was an escalator. And that'd be a really, really good guess, but an incorrect one. Close, but incorrect. The feature is a 75-foot-high elevator. Now, according to the course website, the original 18th hole at the Pittsburgh Field Club was a severely uphill 277-yard par 4 that played to the top of what they called Pikes Peak, the site of the present-day practice putting green. And the hole was modified in 1930, but the strenuous, severe uphill climb for golfers was still there. And golf carts didn't exist, and so on hot summer days, the risk of fatal heart attacks was real. And again, from the website, tradition and anecdotes indicate that fatal heart attacks did occur, and as a result, the final chapter of the hole was written in 1938. In that year, an elevator was erected beside the number 17 green, which transported golfers up 70 feet to the 265-foot-long bridge leading them to the newly constructed 18th tee at the top of the hill. The hole became a par 3 and remains that way today. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Pittsburgh Trivia, the best source for fun information about the coolest city in the world. Thanks for listening, thanks for playing, and we'll see you next time.
What? You're never gonna believe this. We'll leave that nugget for next time. So if you want more wacky Pittsburgh trivia, be sure to subscribe and we'll invite you back to our next episode. But if you just can't wait, visit our website at pittsburghtriviapodcast.com, where we think Pittsburgh trivia isn't trivial.